Hello, I'm Mandy Van Hoevelen and I work in the Museum Learning and Programs Department at the Smithsonian's National Museum of the American Indian. I work to support the museum's vision of equity and social justice for Native peoples of the Western Hemisphere through education, inspiration, and empowerment. The 2021 National History Day theme narrative, Communication in History, the Key to Understanding, is such an important theme to explore, and there are many ways you can connect the history of Indigenous cultures to this narrative. When looking at the history of communication within Native cultures, it's important to know that the way we think about communication today was vastly different in different Native communities over the course of time. At the time of Columbus's arrival, it is estimated that there were over 500 Indigenous languages spoken in what is now the United States, and hundreds more throughout the Western Hemisphere. To communicate across cultures, Indigenous people had interpreters, those who knew multiple languages, and some even used a type of sign language, while others had different modes of communication that were completely unique to them. As I was thinking about this theme, one of the first things that came to mind for me is a common question that we're asked at the museum. Did Indians really use smoke signals to communicate, and do they today? This and other common questions are answered in our book called Do All Indians Live in Teepees? But the short answer is yes. Some Native peoples living in the Great Plains and in the Southwest used smoke signals hundreds of years ago. For example, the Navajo and Apache transmitted smoke signals as a tactic to warn of the approach of enemies. But like many questions we address in the book, this one is more complicated. The use of smoke signals has been greatly exaggerated and even ridiculed in the 20th and 21st centuries through mainstream popular culture, particularly in Hollywood movies, cartoons, and advertisements. This image is now deeply ingrained in the public consciousness. Think of it, a Native man dressed in feathers, sitting at the edge of a cliff with a blanket, fanning a fire from which smoke billows upwards, sometimes spelling out entire words. But Native peoples did not use smoke signals to spell out entire words, nor was it an entire language, and not all tribes use smoke signals. Today, Indian people do not use smoke signals as a form of communication. They get their news, just like you all, from TV, social media, and the internet. Mainstream popular culture has done much to spread misunderstandings of Native people. In our online exhibition called Americans, we explore in greater detail how American Indian images, names, and stories infuse American history and contemporary life. Pervasive, powerful, and at times demeaning, these images, names, and stories reveal how Indians have been embedded in unexpected ways in the history, pop culture, and identity of the United States. Beyond these images and names are familiar historical events and stories. Thanksgiving, Pocahontas, the Trail of Tears, and the Battle of Little Bighorn, that have become part of our everyday conversation, sometimes without us even noticing. We can find out more about how this imagery spread in the Indian Winds section of the exhibition. Here, we look closely at the spread of the stereotype of the Plains Indian warrior following the defeat of Lieutenant Colonel George Armstrong Custer at the Battle of the Little Bighorn in 1876. One could argue that the Battle of the Little Bighorn never ended. Following Custer's defeat, the story was sensationalized and told over and over again. Buffalo Bill's Wild West stage show and its many copycats blurred the lines between entertainment and history as they reenacted the battle for audiences across the world. The performances were advertised as the great struggle of civilization and savagery, finally enabling our continental expansion. The shows were only the beginning as new technologies perpetuated the spread of this imagery over decades through movies, books, media, and advertisements. In the decades following the Battle of the Little Bighorn, Plains Indian warriors came to represent all Indians, and that image became frozen in time. The prevalence of this type of American Indian imagery is a unique phenomenon in America. What can it tell us about our conflicted history and our relationship today? I hope you explore more to find out, and I wish you luck in the competition.